First of all, Chairman Grassley and members, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak on this important issue today. Again, my name is Ricky Dixon. I'm the Secretary of the Florida Department of Corrections, and I currently serve as the President of the American Correctional Association. I'm here today representing several 100,000 correctional professionals across this nation who work tirelessly to maintain order, security, and provide rehabilitation within our facilities. I spent nearly 3 decades in this profession, starting as a correctional officer and working through the ranks to lead one of the largest prison systems in the United States. I tell you that to say that I know firsthand the urgent threats facing our staff, the inmates we house, and the public we serve. Now, I'm here today to sound the alarm and make you aware of a growing crisis within our profession, one that calls for immediate action. The criminal use of unmanned aircraft systems, or drones, is escalating, and we do not have the tools or the legal authority to stop them. These drones are no longer just a nuisance. They're sophisticated weapons for organized crime, smuggling fentanyl, heroin, razor blades, weapons, and contraband cell phones into our facilities with precision. Each time a drone enters our airspace, we're forced to lock down, halting education, job training, drug treatment, and mental health programs that reduce recidivism and prepare individuals for successful reintegration into society, programs you've appropriately supported and allocated funding for. The consequences, they're deadly. Drone-delivered narcotics have led to numerous overdose deaths inside our prisons throughout this nation and contributes significantly to violence against other inmates and our staff. But make no mistake, this crisis is not just a local issue. It does not end at our facility gates. Contraband cell phones smuggled in by drones are powerful criminal tools. From behind bars, inmates are orchestrating drug trafficking, intimidating witnesses, and directing violent crimes in our communities. Families are being extorted, forced to send money to protect loved ones from harm inside the prison walls. Inmates are being brutally assaulted to serve as examples of what can happen when families don't comply. American prisons are turning into command centers for drug cartels and gang leaders, driving crime well beyond our fences. It's only a matter of time before a firearm or firearms are dropped in by drones with timing synchronized with cell phones so that a specific inmate or group of inmates are in a position to receive them in an effort to take over a facility. All of this happens at a time when staffing shortages are already pushing our workforce to its limits. Officers are working mandatory overtime just to keep operations running. Adding drone-related lockdowns, heightened security demands, and emergency searches makes their jobs unsustainable. Yet, despite the severity of this issue, correctional agencies remain legally prohibited from taking action. Only 4 federal agencies have the authority to counteract drone threats. Meanwhile, state and local correctional facilities, among the most frequently targeted, remain defenseless. Waiting for federal intervention is putting lives at risk. We appreciate legislative proposals for pilot programs to test counter-drone solutions, but let's be clear, pilot programs alone will not solve this national crisis. The issue requires a comprehensive, scalable, and well-regulated legal framework, one that grants correctional and law enforcement agencies the authority for advanced detection and mitigation, backed by funding, training, and oversight. Every authorized drone that enters correctional airspace undermines public safety. Every contraband cell phone delivered by drone strengthens criminal enterprises. And every lockdown caused by drone activity hinders rehabilitation and destabilizes institutions. We urge you to act, give us the tools, the authority, and the support we need to support this growing threat before it spirals further out of control, to stop this growing threat. The safety of our correctional facilities, our workforce, and our communities depend on it. Without this authority, we allow modern technology to become a weapon that undermines justice, facilitates contraband trafficking, and jeopardizes lives. Threats the framers never intended the First, Fourth, Fifth, or 10th Amendment to shield. I leave you with this. This issue will be addressed eventually, there's no doubt. The only question is whether we act now with foresight or wait for disaster and attempt to recover after the fact. Thank you, and I stand ready to take any questions.
Secretary Dixon, when drones are detected overhead prison, a correctional facility, what are the security protocols that you go through once you see it?
Thank you, Senator, for that question. It's quite extensive. We lock the compound down. That can be for hours, days, weeks, in some cases, depending on the payload, the portion of the payload we discovered, if at all. Significant consequences occur between gangs and different members and different inmates in the institution if the payload doesn't make it to its intended target. So it's a dangerous situation. As I mentioned earlier,
no way that doesn't compromise your ability to operate correctional facilities in a manner that is effective and safe.
It absolutely does. In addition to, as I mentioned earlier, stop all the rehabilitative programming, the mental health programming, all those functions that we're supposed to carry out, we put on pause at a time we're already in a difficult staffing situation. I do want to, in appreciation for Senator Durbin's comment earlier as well, I do think there's a differentiation to be made between our environment in the prison setting versus the citizenry. When it comes to the Fourth Amendment, there's no reasonable expectation of privacy for those people we house there, and so we're simply asking for that when drones enter our airspace to be able to deal with them and mitigate the threat at that point.
Thank you.
My last question, Mr. Dixon, you talked about things being smuggled in through drones into prisons. You also noted that correctional facilities are legally prohibited from employing counter-UAS technology. Could you talk about the threat to correctional officers and inmates at a facility?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Absolutely. Anytime drugs are introduced to the compound and the kind of contraband that comes in, it increases the threat. In terms of, I've seen a 98% increase in outside medical trips or security in the last several years, much of that related to the contraband drones bring in. It's one of the most dangerous things we do is take inmates outside of our fence to local hospitals. The violence that's associated with the drugs coming in, the contraband coming in, has increased exponentially since this became a problem.
Mm-hmm. And last, just when the drones breach the perimeter, it is obviously a major threat, but what type of counter-UAS authorities do correctional facilities need? And make it quick because I've gone over my time.
We need, and we're not resistant at all to oversight and training, but we need the ability to mitigate that threat to a greater extent than we do now to intercept those drones coming over our facility.
Thank you.
Senator.
Okay. I want to turn to you, Secretary Dixon, in my last few minutes. In Alabama, like most other states, we have seen an increase in drones using to fly contraband into correctional facilities. As you have testified today and spoken with my colleagues about, that presents a real risk, not only to inmates, but obviously the officers as well. Based on your experience, can you kind of explain to us some of the unique challenges related to drone mitigation when it comes to to a correctional setting, and how those should inform us as we're looking at potential legislation?
Thank you, Senator. One of the most significant challenges is they come in and we don't know they're there. Often they fly. Sometimes they fly high. They're fast. They're swift. So often the contraband is delivered and we never saw it coming. So we're defenseless. We have limited systems that help detect when they're coming in, but not nearly as advanced as they should be and as the technology is capable to deliver right now if we had the federal authorities we need. And I would just like to add, not to be melodramatic, but I would encourage us to act with the same sense of urgency that we would if we were watching on the news right now that multiple automatic weapons were just delivered into one of our compounds by drone and to gang members, and they escaped or harmed or killed other inmates or staff, because that is a very likely scenario. That's not being an alarmist, it's very likely. And I'm not implying we're not, it's why we're here today, and we're so thankful that we're having this discussion.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.